Hey, it's Leash. It has been a while, so I'm just gonna go through a little bit of a recap before I get into the story. So last time we talked, I was in Mexico. Now I had to do 2 weeks in Mexico as like a quarantine. I was planning on going to the US. The borders weren't open for people from England. You had to have been in a different country for 2 weeks before entering the US. So I went to Mexico for 2 weeks. I got my J1 work visa out in Mexico City. So I spent 2 weeks in Mexico City by myself. I'm going to do a whole different thing on that and how I found Mexico and a few story times from Mexico, and yeah, just all about the travel guide, etc, etc. After Mexico, I then flew to the US to do Camp America. Now that will be a different video on exposing, well, I don't really want to say exposing Camp America, but about my experience with Camp America and my experience with this summer camp that I was placed with, because for those of you who don't know me personally know that I quit that camp. I'll get into it in a different video. Basically I quit. I didn't stay for the entire summer, but I met somebody when I was out at that camp and we basically went traveling together around the US. So they quit as well, so it was just the two of us, and yeah, we went on a trip around the United States. So I'm lucky enough that I didn't have to fly everywhere, that they had a car, so we was able to do what we wanted, go where we wanted, and didn't have to worry about public transport, because as we all know, American public transport is not the best compared to the public transport system in Europe. Different video about where I travelled in the US, what I recommend, what I don't recommend, you know, how I got around budgets, things like that, so stay out for that video. But anyways, that was just a little backstory. So now let's get into how the car got stolen. Me and my friend set out from Michigan because Michigan is where they live and Michigan was where this summer camp was. So I was with them in Michigan, and we set out from Michigan and went around the whole entire north of the US. So by the time we had got to California, we had been to like 6 or 7 states prior to California at that point. So this was like towards the end of, well, it wasn't towards the end of our trip. We still had like 4 states to go after California. So after California we was planning on going through into Arizona, and then like from Arizona going back round and doing like New York, West Virginia, Maine, like all the way back round, and just do like an entire loop. You can tell from this video we never made the entire route. So we was about halfway, like I don't know, 60%, 70% through the trip at this point. So yeah, we had made it to California. We had already been to Crescent City in California, and we had already been to San Francisco in California. So this was our 3rd and final stop in California, and this was in Los Angeles. So we stayed here in Los Angeles, which I don't believe is the best place to stay in LA, but this was what we could afford. Like, we are two young girls traveling on our own, and we wanted to do it as budget friendly as possible. We did a bit of research, and most people said like this was like not a bad area to stay. Like, it wasn't the worst area, it wasn't like Skid Row, but at the same time it wasn't like the best area. It was like an in between. So we thought, oh, we're only gonna be sleeping there, we're not gonna be there most days. So we stayed at this hotel in this area of Los Angeles. Now at this point we were driving a Subaru Forester, a black Subaru Forester with Michigan plates. Now this is not a car people steal. Like, a Subaru Forester is not really a trendy car. Like, it's not one you would go out of your way to steal. Like, you know, there were more attractive cars that you could steal than a Subaru. So yeah, we were driving a Subaru. The day before our car got stolen, we spent the day at Universal Studios, and we got back at like 6-7 p.m. at night, and we parked in a parking slot. I'll see if I can get it up on Google Maps of whereabouts we parked. And we didn't know at the time that we parked the only place in the entire car park that didn't have CCTV footage. So everywhere else in this entire car park you could see the car from CCTV. From this point you couldn't, and we didn't know that. We weren't told that at the time. So we parked here, you know, we got back pretty early, to be fair, because both of us were really tired from going to Universal, really thinking about things. We still had things in the car. So like I had a few pairs of shoes in there, I had a pair of Doc Martens sandals, I had like a few pairs of Converse just shoved in there, I had my passport that I left in the boot of the car, like we had like a few other random bits like blankets. My friend had a like leather jacket, a pair of Doc Martens boots, and then we just had like a bunch of trash, if I'm being honest, in the car, because by this point we'd already been through like 7 states, so you know we were eating a lot on the road, a lot of driving, so we had a lot of trash in the car. So this was what the state of the car was like. The car was a mess inside. I'm not going to say it wasn't a mess, because it was. It did look like homeless people were living in the car, because you know we're young girls, we had done a lot by this point, so we didn't really think anything of it. Like we did think, oh, maybe we should take everything we have inside of the car into our hotel, because we was only supposed to be at the hotel for like one more night after this. In our heads we didn't really think, oh, we've got to take all of our stuff in with us, because we had been through all of these states prior and we had never had any issues with us leaving things in the car, because we had nothing really of value in the car. Like the most valuable item we had in the car was my friend's pair of Doc Martens that are like over $100, but we didn't really have anything substantial of value in the car. Coming from Universal, we were both wearing Harry Potter robes that we'd bought at Universal. Now obviously you know they are cheap, but yeah, we went in and we had a conversation with the security guard, because we got pretty friendly with the security guard. You know, we was just like being friendly, and he was a big Harry Potter fan, so we was obviously all talking to him about the Harry Potter. And there was the people that were checking in at the same time as like we was going up the lift or the elevator to our room, and we didn't really think anything of it, because you know it's just normal like for people to be checking in and out. Anyway, we went, we ordered some food into the hotel, you know, then we went straight to bed. And then we woke up the next day at like 3 in the afternoon, because we were going to go hike the Hollywood sign, but we wanted to do it a bit later in the afternoon when it was a bit cooler, and you know maybe we could see the sunset on the Hollywood sign. And yeah, so this was going to be our last full day in LA, so we had planned to climb the Hollywood sign. So we'd got up pretty late, like 3 p.m. We had got ready for the day, and then we had gone down to the car park, and when we got to the car park the car wasn't there anymore. Like, you should have seen the panic in both of our faces when we both just looked at each other and was like, where's the car? Like at this point, Michigan is like up north and California's here. Like we are a good 19, 20, like 24 hours away from anybody in Michigan. LA was, like California was the worst place for something to go wrong because of how far away everyone was from us. So yeah, we got to the car park, we realised, oh, like our car is gone, like it's not in the car park. So obviously we went to the security guard and we're like, our car's missing, and he looked concerned on his face, like, because obviously we had got to know him, we were all pretty friendly at this point. So he did an entire sweep of the hotel to check see if anybody had like discarded it anywhere, and no, like it could not be found. Like nobody knew where our car was, and obviously at this point we were told that our car was not in CCTV footage because we parked in the only slot without CCTV footage. So we were both panicking at this point. We were like, oh, like what do we do? Because none of our possessions were really of value, but they were a lot of sentimental value things in that car that we'd bought from our trip. Just a little bit like, oh, and obviously I had my passport in there, so I could not get home. without my passport, and I'm not a US citizen. So we was originally going to fly from LA to Michigan and have their parents come and pick us up from Detroit in Michigan, because Detroit's only like an hour away from where they live. So we was going to do that, but obviously I don't have a passport, so I couldn't fly, whereas they could. They don't have a passport either, but they have a driver's license, like an enhanced driver's license that allows them to fly to any state in the US, including Canada and Mexico. Whereas I don't have that, I'm not a US citizen. So we was kind of like, oh, like we really need to find the car and find our possessions, because neither of us can go anywhere, you know, we're stuck in a city, in a state that neither of us are used to. We're running out of money at this point, you know, and we're like, what do we do? So obviously we file a police report looking for this car, and at this point the security guard tells us that last night when we had come back, there was somebody checking into the hotel who they didn't realise at the time was a known car thief. Like, they was on the run from the police, but they didn't, like, nothing got flagged up, and they actually left the same night our car got stolen, and they were supposed to be there another day, but they had left a night early even though they had paid for an extra night. So we thought, this seems a bit suspicious. So we was both panicking, and obviously they was on the phone to their parents like what do we do, you know, our car's just got stolen, you know, we can't get anywhere, there's nothing we could do. And at this point we was looking at options to get home, like get back to Michigan, because we thought at this point, like, we can't continue with the trip, we have no car, we have no way of getting around, you know, public transport's not a thing, but so we was just like, we just need to get home. So we was looking at taking the bus, but the bus would have taken like over 40-50 hours, and it was like 5 or 6 changes, and the US public transport system is not great, so their parents were a little bit skeptical of us taking the bus, because it's not really a like very common thing to do, and it's not really a safe option to do either. So their parents did come and pick us up in California. They made the trip all the way from Michigan to LA to come pick us up, and on the way home we did get to go via Arizona and see the Grand Canyon, which, you know, I got some incredible pictures and I'm so happy we did. But we are so thankful that their parents came and picked us up. When we were still in California, we had obviously extended our stay because we needed to be in California in case they found the car. Now, 2 days after we had put the police report in, they did find the car. Now, when they found the car had scrapes on the side. The little wing mirror was missing, like, because it had a tracker on it of like the location of where you was, so they'd obviously ripped that off. All of our stuff inside the car was gone. Like, they had got rid of everything inside the car, but they didn't take anything important off of the car, if that makes sense. Like, they didn't take the catalytic converter or the radio or anything like that that would be worth value. They just took all of our stuff, and they found the car discarded like 2 miles away from our hotel. So they didn't get far with the car. We kind of annoyed at ourselves that we left all of the stuff in there, but at the same time we were just happy that the car was found. So obviously we had to take the car to a garage to get work done on it because it was not in a drivable state. Like, the steering wheel was locked, you could not drive the car because I think they'd probably hot-wired the car, so the steering wheel had like froze on itself, and yeah, so we could not drive the car was undrivable. So they towed it to a garage and they looked at the car. So yeah, their parents came and picked us up and we went back to Michigan. We did eventually get the car back. We got the car towed from LA back to Michigan, and the car is now back in Michigan. It's drivable. My friend still has the car because that was her mum's car, so her mum still drives the car, even though they're planning on getting rid of it because that car is now cursed because something else happened to the car, like something hit the car and it's like smashed the car basically. It's a story of how we got a car stolen in LA. So now moving on to the theories. Now, their parents' theory was that the security guard was in on it, like their theory was that the security guard saw us coming in, saw us dressed in these Harry Potter robes, which are like $150 to buy, and saw that both of us was wearing one and thought that we were like rich people, and decided that, oh well, we've got foreign plates, we're not from Michigan, so that they came up with a deal with somebody to like take the car. I mean, I don't specifically believe this, but I mean, it was an interesting theory. Another theory was that they didn't take our stuff, they just wanted the car as like a getaway car, and that somebody had stolen the car and left it in a location for somebody else to come pick up to drive out of state. So, because where they found the car was like hidden, and it wasn't crashed or anything, it was just parked. But what we think has happened is when they went to park the car locked itself. So when the next people came to get the car, they couldn't get in, they couldn't start the car because it was locked. So we think even then they took our stuff as like a bargaining chip, or like they just threw all of our stuff on the side of the road and just wanted to like take the car. Because it had Michigan plates, because it was a foreign plate, they thought it would be easier to steal a car of a different state than their own. So yeah, who knows what actually happened to the car at this point. None of our stuff was in time, my passport was missing, so that was fun. Keep watching out for more videos of my trip because there are more coming. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please be careful if you're in LA. I know LA is a very desirable place to be. Like everybody's like, oh, I want to go to Los Angeles because they see all of these celebrities that live there and all these people that live there, but just know, like, yes, the state does have all these great people living there, but it is there's a lot of poor people that live in this state. Like, it is a very mixed state, so just be careful about that. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching and I hope to see you all again soon. Bye.